Its armies were unstoppable, its cities were rich, and its silver coins were trusted everywhere.
The Roman denarius became one of history's most trusted currencies. A single silver coin could buy food, clothing, and even pay a soldier. But an empire this large came with a terrible cost. More soldiers, more roads, and more wars demanded more money every year. The treasury began running low. Taxes could no longer cover the empire's enormous expenses.
So the emperors made a dangerous decision. They mixed cheaper metals into the silver coins while keeping the same appearance. At first, almost nobody noticed. The coins looked the same, but their true value had already begun to disappear. With more coins available, the government could suddenly pay its armies and continue its grand projects. But merchants were not fools. They began to realize that the new coins contained less silver than before. Prices slowly began to rise. If money contained less silver, merchants demanded more coins for the same goods. The people still had money in their hands, but that money could buy less and less every year. Over generations, the silver content of Roman coins collapsed. Trust in the empire's money began collapsing with it. When people lose faith in money, they begin losing faith in the government itself. Rome's economic foundation started to crack. The Roman Empire would survive for centuries longer. But the lesson had already been: money loses its value, even the greatest empire begins to weaken.
Unlike heavy coins were light, easy to carry, and accepted throughout the empire.
For a time, the new system worked brilliantly. Trade became easier and commerce flourished across China. But maintaining a great empire was expensive. Wars, palaces, and government projects demanded more money every year. The easiest solution seemed simple. Instead of finding more silver, the government simply printed more paper money. At first, nobody worried. More money meant more spending, more projects, and more activity throughout the empire. But something strange began to happen. The more notes that existed, the less valuable each one became. People needed more and more banknotes just to buy everyday necessities. Confidence in the currency began to fade. Soon, many merchants stopped accepting paper money entirely. They preferred silver, goods, or direct trade. The empire's great experiment had failed. The paper that once represented wealth had lost the trust of the people. No law could force people to believe in money that had lost its value. Trust had vanished. The Ming Dynasty learned a lesson repeated throughout history. When governments create too much money, paper becomes plentiful, but trust becomes rare. Spain's dynamic expansion unearthed unimaginable wealth, but this flood of silver would soon become a dynamic crisis, as prices across the continent began to soar. Heavy with the New World's silver, but this endless flood of wealth would soon become a crisis. As prices soared, a mighty empire began to drown. Ship after ship returned from the Americas carrying unimaginable amounts of silver and gold. To many people, it seemed that Spain had discovered endless wealth and would remain powerful forever. But money was now flowing into Europe faster than goods and services could be produced. Prices slowly began to rise. Food, clothing, and everyday goods became more expensive than ever before. The same amount of silver could now buy less and less. Europe was experiencing one of history's first great inflationary periods. Instead of investing in industry and production, much of Spain's wealth was spent on luxury and endless government expenses. Instead of investing in industry and production, the empire also used its treasure to finance costly wars across the continent. Other countries built industries and businesses. Spain increasingly relied on imported goods paid for with silver. The empire had more money than ever before, but wealth alone could not create a strong economy. The treasure that once seemed endless could no longer solve Spain's growing economic problems. History had revealed another lesson. Too much money can make prices rise faster than prosperity itself. The Spanish Empire learned a painful truth. An empire can drown not only in debt, but also in too much treasure.
In 1923, Germany faced one of the worst economic disasters in modern history. Its currency was about to lose almost all of its value. After the First World War, Germany was burdened with enormous debts and reparations that seemed impossible to pay.
The government chose a dangerous solution. It simply printed more and more money. At first, it seemed to work. There was plenty of money everywhere.
But prices soon began rising at an unbelievable speed. Every day, money bought less than it had the day before. People rushed to spend their wages immediately, because waiting even a few hours could make their money worth less. Soon, people needed wheelbarrows to carry enough cash to buy simple everyday goods.
The government kept printing larger and larger numbers, hoping to stay ahead of the crisis. Life savings vanished. Families who had spent years building their wealth suddenly became poor. In some places, money became so worthless that people used banknotes as fuel instead of currency. When people lose trust in money, they also lose trust in the system that created it. The hyperinflation eventually ended, but the economic and emotional scars remained for generations.
Germany's crisis became one of history's greatest warnings. A currency survives not because it is printed, but because people believe in it.
In the late 2000s, Zimbabwe became the stage for one of the most extreme inflation crises in modern history. The country was facing economic decline, falling production, and growing financial problems.
To keep paying its expenses, the government turned to the printing press. More and more money entered the economy, but the amount of goods and services did not increase. Prices began rising so quickly, a product could cost twice as much only hours later.
People needed bags full of money just to buy everyday necessities. The numbers on the banknotes kept getting larger, but their purchasing power kept getting smaller. Eventually printed one of the most famous banknotes in history, the $100 trillion note. The crisis was no longer just about money. It was about trust, savings, and daily survival. Many people's no longer just about money stopped using their national currency altogether and turned to foreign money instead. Many people's know the national currency had effectively lost its role as money.
The hyperinflation eventually ended, but only after the old currency had become almost completely worthless. From Rome to Zimbabwe, history tells the same story. Money is valuable not because it exists, but because people believe in it.
Empires printed money, prices rose, trust vanished, and history proved one thing: the most valuable currency is trust.